Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? Welcome to the show. It's good to see everybody. Excuse my voice. I'm still recovering from the flu, or I don't know what the fuck it was that I had, but for 3 days straight, I could barely get out of bed. 4 days almost, because I had to take a day off from work. And I'm just starting to feel slightly normal after all of that. Still got a stuffed up nose and all that happy horse shit, but other than that, rolling pretty good. And as always, there's a rat dog in view.
We have a lot of them.
But it seems like right before we pass it over to you, you always got a whoop dog.
Well, I have a chair beside me that rat dogs like to sit in, and Ma Petite has stolen his place, but he knows better than to try to kick her out of it.
She get bitchy?
She's growling at him and not even looking at him and doesn't even know where he's at, but she's growling at him right now. And she's like looking the other way. She hasn't even turned her head.
Damn.
She's like, I can smell you, bitch.
He's a halfway cute dog, though.
He's a handsome.
Like, he doesn't look like a rat dog. He's not fugly.
He's handsome.
The other ones are fugly.
Watch how you talk about my children.
What? I think all Chihuahuas kind of look fugly, so.
Ben is not chugly.
Chugly.
He's not chugly.
Is it instead of fucking ugly, greatly ugly?
I mean, Iris does look like her. She ran into a wall, like with the bottom half open. Like her nose extruded out.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway.
So, what big deck are you reading for us tonight?
I figured because they're in the news a little bit lately, and there's a TV show coming, and it is my favorite universe, metaverse, fantasyverse, and except for this is behind me, it is the entire decoration, my entire room is colored and based off of Fallout.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. It's the TV show, right?
Yeah.
When is that dropping?
I don't know exactly, but it is the Amazon TV show that will be dropping, and so I'm excited. Very excited for that. Curse
Fallout's
Culebra.
amazing.
I am obsessed with Fallout, all versions of Fallout, including 76.
Yeah, I kind of draw the line at 76.
Yeah, when was the last time you played or spent any time in it?
With you. Maybe about like a
year
ago.
That, and how many hours was that?
We did a good round of hours. We did a solid like week playing that almost every night for like a week about a year ago.
Mm-hmm. New Vegas is really good. I'm actually replaying New Vegas right now. And then we know the new one that's coming out, right?
Nope.
London. Well, it's not the new one that's coming out. It's a mod, but still.
It doesn't count then.
It does count.
It's not released by Bethesda.
Well, nothing is released by Bethesda.
Okay. It wasn't built by Bethesda.
Took a minute, but we got there.
You know what I was talking about.
They try really hard, but they're... and if you really like Fallout and you want to play Fallout in space, just play Starfield.
Starfield was just disappointing. I played it twice through, and the second time was just more disappointing than the first time.
I still like it. I play games through very, very slow, so it's been nice. I did switch, though. Yes, count on fans to make it right. That's of absolute truth. I'm not a big single-player game person. Like, I like online co-ops, that kind of stuff, but there's a few. More story-like. I love Telltale games, but I've been playing Callisto Protocol, actually at the recommendation of a YouTuber. and it I don't know if it's movie based or just game based, but the main character is created off of Josh Duhamel. So as you can imagine, it's a
It sounds familiar.
very good game. Callisto Protocol, pretty good. But anyway, back to the tarot. We are using Fallout Tarot. This is original Fallout. So if you haven't seen me use this deck before, there's the back.
So no dog meat?
This is, yeah, no dog meat in this one. That's just, what is this? The Hierophant. You got Buzzy. Oh god, that hurts my shoulder. It's ridiculous. We got our little... Yeah, if I could do, like, pan my camera, I've got bobbleheads everywhere. I've got the Nuka-Cola Quantum actually behind me, and the caps all over the place. I've got Fallout playing cards, Fallout gloves, Fallout hat. I have an actual a painting of dog meat in the Fallout 4 verse. So count on defense to make it right. High, lend, low, roller. High. Do not like Fallout 76 version of perks. They really screwed everything up in my opinion. But let's see what we get for the tarot tonight.
Alrighty. Welcome, Highland.
Ooh. Coffee? Thank you. I appreciate you.
Coffee.
Ooh, the strange guy. That is exciting. Now I do have to look up one thing. I cannot remember the suits because they do the suits very strange. Lanterns, I'm assuming, is fire, but the scents, I'm not sure what suit that is in the Fallout verse. Usually I can figure it out quite easily, but I certainly cannot. Okay, so muskets is fire, scents would be earth. It doesn't say it, I'm guessing. Steel is going to be swords. Lanterns are water, actually. So, our first card, what did I say scents was? Earth. So the first card is the 3 of scents, or we're going to say 3 of earth, or pentacles, coins. This is honestly a good portent for financial success. So we're talking about the opportunity to have a positive financial, nothing huge, but positive financial gain or balancing in financial world. You can kind of see, I'm trying to get the angle right here. There it goes. Sorry, everything's backwards when you do it in here, and my shoulder's killing me, so this kind of hurts. But you know, this anything in the earth section or the earth area, I guess, with sense in this one is really about that things that ground us, things that we have, things that we can touch that are around us, and in this case, financial. When you think of threes, I always think of the 3 of coins. It makes more sense that way to me when you're thinking about earth, because that's that possibility for things are going to go well. Maybe you'll save a little bit of money. You'll be able to actually do some things that are beneficial for you from a financial perspective. Then we have justice. Just ice. So justice is a card that talks about truth, but more than just truth, it's that the truth will happen. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's good or bad, you're not going to necessarily benefit from it unless it's, on your side. Meaning, regardless of what you're expecting, is probably the best way to put it. Regardless of what you think was right or was good or was appropriate, what was actually right or good or appropriate is going to be revealed. So the truth sometimes hurts. We talk about that in some of our other things that we do. And when we pull justice, justice really talks through that, not balancing of the scale so much as what is supposed to be will be. And sometimes that can cause some difficulty. But we have to see our other cards really to see how that's going to pan out. And with the Three of Sense, it's actually probably a pretty good portent that things are going to work in our favor. And then our third card for right now is the Knight of Lanterns, which we discussed was water. Lanterns are kind of like lighting the way, I think, in this version of the Fallout Tarot. So, let's see his face. So our knights, like I've said before, knights really are, well, any court card, but court cards represent people. And in this particular knight, we are seeing this, I don't know, cool guy in the glasses, ready to go. He has his lantern. Lantern's pretty bright. He's got the light behind him, and he's walking forward, going forward, moving forward, and doing what needs to be done. The Knight of Lanterns is prepared, or let me say cups, because it's easier for me to think when I'm saying it in the suit than I recognize. The Knight of Cups. When we're working through the Knight of Cups, what we're dealing with is somebody who might be a little bit on the non-emotional side, right? They're not showing the emotion that they need to. A little bit unreadable. And if you're bringing this person or this energy around you, it's saying not to play all of your cards, not to show all of your emotion, not to let somebody in all the way on the things that you're working on. So this next week, if we put all three of these together, we're really talking about some low-key, I don't want to say keep to yourself, because it's not really keep to yourself, but it's not the time to do big outings and be around lots of people and sharing all of your stuff. And Christmas is past. You gave all your stuff. Let's kind of pull it back in a little bit and really focus on what's with us right now, how we feel, and deal with our things ourselves. Every time I say it ourselves, it sounds like I'm saying like don't be around people, and that's not what I'm getting from these three cards. What I'm getting is, I guess, really just not playing your whole hand. You know, not the energy that's coming forward is really not expressive. It's not air your dirty laundry. We can do that, but this isn't the time for it. It's hole up a little bit, and if you do that, then you'll have a pretty decent outcome. You'll be able to move forward through a couple of things. But yeah, these are not my easiest cards to read because I have to get my mind into the right spot of sense being coins, pentacles. But they don't fit to me. It seems like sense would be air and lanterns would be fire instead of the way that they have it set up. That's cups. It's a little backwards.
That it?
I don't know.
It got real quiet.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
I pulled a couple of clarifying cards, and they're not clarifying cards, so.
They're not clarifying. They just confuse things more.
Yeah. I wouldn't say confuse things more, but I need to spend some time with the actual deck, and like muskets are fire. That doesn't really make sense to me. I disagree, Fallout. I mean, I know you fired, but I mean, I would probably put muskets elsewhere.
I mean, I guess so. But I think they're just working with what they got, right?
Yeah, and it's the original Fallout. So what I really like about the deck is just the design. Obviously, it's not the deck that I'm going to choose to read from very much because I do not read well from this one. I don't connect very well. But I like it. Like these are ones I'd tape up to the wall and like decorate with.
Look at it. It's Fallout.
Yeah. Out of 400 and some decks, this is... Oh, I don't think everybody knew I'm up to 400, but out of 400 and some decks, there's a few that I can't read from very well.
Yeah, I don't really have anything decorative like that. Like outside of like a few Funko Pops. Oh, no, we're going through decorations. Got the what? This is supposed to be
Nuka-Cola
Nuka-Cola?
Quantum.
Ah, okay. Oh, and it's a blue nightlight. Look at that.
And my Nuka caps. Oh yeah, I am all about the Fallout.
Did you see? I don't know if you watch YouTube videos like this. There's this, well, this chick on YouTube. I guess she's in like, I want to say Switzerland or Germany or something like that. Or,
Probably don't watch her. I watch car crash videos all day.
I mean,
in between stuff.
I mean, all her videos are in English, but what she does is she does like mods and set decorations. And the kitchen in her office, they redid the entire kitchen like a Fallout kitchen.
Oh, I would love it. Like a 1940s and 50s nuclear things would if nuclear would have taken off.
But it was like a full functional kitchen. Like that looks like something that came right out of the game. All the way down to like adding like all the what is it, patina or whatever it's called? Yeah. To the kitchen, it came out amazing. Like,
well,
so
I'll pull a quick card from the Tiny Tarot.
Sure.
Clarification.
Knight of something.
Knight of Wands. Look, it's the size of my thumb.
Yeah.
I love these things. They're so cute.
It goes beyond tiny. But what does it clarify?
Well, I mean, it clarifies the night. If we're talking about another night, this is just more to support the fact that what we're looking at our energies right now is really based upon being ready, being prepared, and having knowledge of something. Alongside with that 3, really, really supports the not going out and throwing your emotions around and throwing them out to other people can stomp on them, because you just need to. It's okay to keep a few things to yourself, you know.
Power and secrets.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with secrets. And they're not even secrets. They're just like things you don't have to share. You know. That's okay.
You're enjoying a hot pot?
Oh, I love hot pot. Yes, Sad World. We mentioned earlier, but I love hot pot. Brad is not a big fan.
Isn't that's a Chinese thing, right?
Korean, I think. At least the one we went to was Korean barbecue hot pot.
Okay.
And it was neat because so basically you sit at a table that has the boiling hot water pots in them, and your food puts in there, and you get to put all your different kinds of things in there. And basically you pay one fee, and then all these things like constantly go around the entire restaurant, at least the one we went to, on a conveyor belt. And you just kind of watch for the thing that you want, and when you see it, you grab it and dump it in and cook it. And I think that's what Rook doesn't like. He's like, I'm at a restaurant, why am I cooking my own food?
Oh, dude, that's fun. I went to something like that in Turkey, though. When I lived in Istanbul, my boss brought me to like this restaurant where they give you this huge plate, like full of meat, and you get like a hot plate in front of you, and you just cook it. Vegetables.
What was that place that you could do that at? The Great Steak? Isn't that what it was?
I don't know. Like U.S. based? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it was called the Great Steak. We had one where I grew up, and even when I was, late teens, and you would go in and you'd get a steak, and you would take it to this huge room that was basically a super long grill, and it was a charcoal grill, brick and metal charcoal grill, and you cooked your steak on it the way you wanted to. And I love stuff like that. But hot pot is amazing. It's one of my favorites, but Brooke does not like it.
Yeah, no. So I was watching a food show the other day. My new mission in life before I die is I want to have a Kobe A5 steak.
I've had Kobe beef, but never a steak.
So, I guess 200 grams, 200 gram steak of A5 Kobe beef is upwards of like $250, $300.
Yep. There's a place in Norfolk, Virginia, if it's still there, called Bardo. It is a tapas grill, and you can order Kobe beef. Back in maybe 2002, me and a friend of mine with one bottle of wine and a 5-course meal, was about $750. It just so happened that the person I was dating, was a head chef at another place and was able to get a lot of really good deals and stuff. So we got a lot of it for free.
Oh, there you go.
But
so I guess the reason I specify A5
good.
is because apparently A5 is like the highest grade Kobe beef you can get.
Sounds so good.
So I guess like when they come out of Japan, they go through like an inspection process, right? So the farmers have no idea whether or not their beef is going to be what grade it's going to get. But it goes anywhere from, I guess, B1 all the way up to A5. And A5 is like certified Kobe beef, like 100%. And I guess they check the marbling, like the quality of the redness of the meat, like just like a bunch of stuff.
Sad world. With the hot pot you're at, did the food come around on the conveyor belt? I always wonder if that's the same everywhere, if it's just the one here in Florida.
On a conveyor belt?
Yeah. Like when you're sitting in your booth, right? So if I'm in a booth and you were across from me, the sides walls, usually the half walls that usually separate booths in a restaurant. On the top of these, there's a conveyor belt, and it carries all the food on it, just plates, and you just grab the one you want as it goes by. Like there's noodles and food and meats, chicken, beef, all that kind of stuff. Different sauces will come by, soups, things like that, and you just yank it and throw it in your bowl.
Yeah, but if you're not paying attention, you're fucked.
Well, I mean, stuff keeps coming around. But yes, if you're not paying attention and you miss out on your chicken, there might be a fight.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, so the topic for the evening, like what I kind of want to touch base on, because so guys might have noticed in the description I put science and Satan. One, I think that sounds really cool together. Two, I've been watching a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? I keep worrying I'm going to fuck up his name. Dude makes a lot of really good points. Especially when it comes to like talking about like spirituality and faith and things like that. So one of the most interesting things that he said that I want to start off with, right, is his idea on truth. He defines truth into 3 categories. Okay? So the biggest and most important one for him is objective truth. Objective truth is the truth regardless of whether you want to believe it in or not. Right? Doesn't change. It's like irrefutable, objective truth. It's truth to everybody. He defines this as something that has been proven in multiple circumstances, in multiple different places, by multiple different people, using, a certain methodology to prove it, whether or not, right? It's true. Then, personal truth, right? What is truth to you? And inside of personal truth is where he puts faith, right? He also defines faith like in the belief of something that cannot be, or that doesn't have evidence currently. Not as something that can't be proven, just something that just currently doesn't have evidence. Meaning, it's not denying the opportunity or possibility of something being real, but rather there's just nothing to prove it just yet, right? Not that it can't be proven, there's just no evidence to prove it. And then the third one, which I find the most interesting, is what he calls political truth. and those are truths that when something's repeated enough times, you start believing it. And I like his example that he gives. The example that he gives, he says, what, like, you know, it says in 2016 when Donald Trump was running for president, who was he running against? And he goes, crooked. Because he repeated so many times in his campaign, crooked Hillary, that you start to believe that that's her first name instead of it being Hillary. Like, it's a ridiculous example, but, you know. And so how does this apply to everything, right? Because Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of those people that seems like he has an answer for everything, right? And how does, like, Satan play into that? So there are, I believe, a lot of things that we've talked about this before that science hasn't been able to kind of provide an explanation for in certain aspects of things. But there's a lot of things that I saw in these conversations with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't want to say proved what a lot of things Mystic and I have talked about on the show, but supported a lot of the things that we've talked about on the show. Like, for example, the concepts of time, right? Time for the individual is linear, but time isn't linear in and of itself. Time is dependent on, well, how fast you're moving and where you are in the world or the universe, right? So time can be potentially moving slower for some people, moving faster for others, or moving normal, which would be your convention, how you see it, right? Again, he says, I mean, that's proven through Einstein. And I think one of the aspects that I find interesting about that, like what Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying with that, is, now I'm paraphrasing here, like I'm picking it apart and kind of putting my own spin on it, right? Because he didn't say this directly, but this is how I understood his explanation on things. When he starts talking about space and time, is that there is a high probability for multiple universes, multiple timelines, multiple existences of the same thing. Because he talks about space and time being, he was having an interview with Steve-O. He asked Steve-O, I don't know if you guys remember Steve-O from Jackass. I hope you guys do. I sure as hell do. Dude was funny as fuck. Still is. Still irritating as fuck to hear his voice. But he told Steve-O, he's like, all right, I'll give you an irrefutable example of how time is important in all of this, like all of these things. If I say, hey, let's hang out tomorrow, right? What's the first thing you're going to ask me? What time? Okay. Let's say 3 o'clock. What's the next thing you're going to ask me? He says, where? He says, there you go. He says, so you just used time and place as a marker in order for us, two human beings, to meet. I could tell you where to meet me, but if I don't tell you when, you don't know when to be there in order to your timeline and my timeline to actually intersect. To create that intersection in time and space. And it's an oversimplification. But if you sit there and you think about it, what are we doing when we do ritual work, when we do things on specific days and specific times, right? Like, the solstice or the equinoxes, the Sabbats, all of these things. When we do these things, we are creating an intersect in time and space on doing these things at these specific times. And what I find interesting about this is it's creating that intersect for us and who or what we are working with, whether that be our ancestors or that the entity or deity that we want to work with in that particular moment in time. All of those things, we are creating intersects, in time and space with those. And so what I loved about this idea and this concept is I don't want to go Christian Catholic Church on you, but it is in such a way that it feels like a lot of people try to use science to disprove the existence of the spiritual. I think by applying the logic of science to the spiritual, I personally think that we can make our practice significantly more powerful by applying some of these ideas and concepts. Mystic.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of organizing a couple of thoughts together that are kind of related in a certain way, but in order for me to get there, I have to start with my base, which is
Go for it.
the reason. Well, first of all, I'm absolutely a believer. I like to say this because it gets people off guard. I am a believer in science. I think science is important, but I don't think. I think what we do is we make this false equivalency that science is truth. But science is only truth in a certain space of time, because things do change, right? And things can be true at one point and then not true at another point. The only difference between those 2 points is time, or other things. But so that's first. Using science to prove or disprove something doesn't work for me very much. Science only adds to the box of evidence to support a certain thing, knowing that it could change. There can be 10 pieces of hard, substantial evidence that something is true, and it can be proven untrue. Or it can be, the doubt can be increased. So there can be changes to that. Like, so science, first and foremost, for me, is amazing. I love it. It's great. I like the scientific method. I like knowing that results are repetitive, and that we can do things with science in the material world that we're in. But then I go to part two, which is sense. In order to know, determine, validate something, you have to sense it, taste it, smell it, hear it, observe it, feel it, touch it.
You turn it into a song now?
Yeah. Daft Punk's on the list. But so you take that, right, and these are all none of these things I'm saying are truths, because we're still getting there. So because this isn't the only piece of it, right? So yeah, to me, part one is in order to use science, you have to be able to observe things. That's what science is observing things. It's repeating experiments to observe what happens. But then you add these incredibly smart people who are able to almost like a sixth sense, insofar as their ability to put things together and assume what has to be occurring in the absence of actual sense, right? This would be things like, um, can we prove that a star is made of hydrogen and neon and xenon gas? Well, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, yes, you can prove it, because we can observe the color spectrum that it gives off, and of what we know about the natural world, it only makes sense. So we are extrapolating and then interpolating all this data into things and making inferences and deductions and all this stuff, right? But we still haven't proven it. We have only added substantial evidence to support that it's probably true. We may get out there and find out that God or 87,000 gods are up there watching us and we're in an anthill and they're shining lights on us in a flashlight, and that's what the twinkle is when they shake it. We don't know, right? We can't. But science says, "Oh, I can prove it." I'm like, no, you can provide a lot of repetitive evidence that that is most likely the case. But until you get out there and observe it, touch it, taste it, feel it, smell it, you have not, to me, in my own personal truth, been able to make that connection. So all of that goes to say that science is not the end all be all of everything we do. To me, because there's science is the reason that I know there's something else. Because science is human. Nature is not. We are part of nature, but science is us. That's a human thing that we do. So we are the limit to it. So if we're the limit to observing and working through science, even in community, right? You get big groups of people together, we have computers, all this stuff, we all get together. The science is great, but it's bound by human. There's something else there, and we don't know necessarily what that is. And that, to me, is what really takes the cake of science is science is proof that there is something more out there. I don't know what it is. My human can't figure it out, but I know it's there. And then I don't want to lose that train, but also kind of in the concept of time, I've always it actually was Neil deGrasse Tyson and the two other people, I cannot remember who they were, and they're on stage, and I remember seeing Neil deGrasse. I don't know if you always have to say his whole name. Like, I don't know the guy, but I'm gonna call him Neil because I'm not gonna keep saying Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, he's on the stage and you can see him. He's like, they're talking. He's like he starts getting mad and he's getting really animated about it because they're having these deep conversations, right, about time and about how time. People say time doesn't exist because it's a construct of what we do to be relative to things. I'm like, that's just what we call it. It still exists, that there's a difference between this moment and that moment, and there's infinite numbers of this moments and that moments that exist on this in the world. And they're not only this moment and that moment, but it's these moments and these moments, and they're kind of all circled around, and there's no linear way about it, right? It's this thing, and we perceive it linearly because we have minutes, because that's what we're looking at. But my moments are only in existence. How do you say it? Like, you said it earlier better than I'm thinking it, but it's the same thing. The minutes and the time is only in existence for myself and my own linear factor does not negate the fact that there are other things that are happening at this exact same moment somewhere else in a different way. Mm-hmm. And they're all existing at the same time. So that means there's millions upon millions of different times that exist at one moment, and they don't all go at the same speed.
Yep.
And when you think about it, time is based on ultimately the speed of light, right? Because everything, and what does that go back to? It goes back to your vision, your sight, your senses. If you're blind, then your hearing, or if you're Helen Keller, your hands, your touch, right? There's a scent involved.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets kind of funky for me, and it starts getting, well, it's definitely out of my purview, but where it starts getting really outside of my computing power. Mm-hmm. But just that there's so much out there that just because we don't have evidence for it right now, it shouldn't, but it does make me angry to hear people say, well, because science says this and there's no evidence that exists, then it can't exist, you're wrong. I'm like, that's a really sticky way to look at it.
I think the problem that people run into, now understand, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I don't have any degrees, I'm just a curious party that enjoys absorbing knowledge. This is my opinion, but I feel that there's two camps here, right? We have the spiritual camp, we have the scientific camp. Now, it's not to say that they don't cross over. They most definitely do, but there's a reason why I'm breaking these up into two camps. The scientific camp is afraid of anything spiritual because if there's to admit that there is something spiritual is to admit that there's something that they cannot prove it actually exists or they can't quantify it to admit that there is something spiritual. The spiritual camp is afraid of letting science in too closely because they're afraid that science might explain away the magic that they feel in certain aspects of things. And I feel that both camps are wrong in the way that they're thinking when it comes down to that. I don't think scientists should be afraid of the spiritual and negate the spiritual because it proves that there's something that they can't quantify. And I don't think that people that believe in the spiritual should be afraid of science. Your belief in the spiritual that's your belief. Like, if you allow something to explain that away, then, I mean, that's on you, I think. I would think.
Human beings are really good at making logical arguments that aren't logical at all, because logic is based on human constructs, right? It's even computer logic is based on us putting things together. There's more to it than that, but it's not within our purview of, again, sensing. And I think that in other words, there's logic in the way that a conch shell is made, right? The Fibonacci sequence is real. Mathematics is in nature. But we're discovering that, not creating that. We're learning how to observe and sense that. We're not making it. And that's one of the things that kind of, I think, separates it out, is that we're so good at creating arguments that have what we perceive as logic to them, but it's only based on the current set of logic instructions we have now, right?
Here's
It's
a
like
good thing.
we're an Intel Celeron processing as a Pentium 3 or some
Yeah,
shit, you know?
Right, exactly. No, so Kerr said, so she says, I use psychology a lot in my tarot work. I think a lot of people do. But the reason why I think that that's pertinent in the science thing, and Scarlett, if you're still here, correct me if I'm wrong here. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was up until, I think, like 86, like 1986, 1987, up until like that point, psychology was considered a pseudoscience. It wasn't considered even an actual science.
It was definitely somewhere between the 70s and 80s.
You know, up to that point, it was considered a pseudoscience. And then it was like when they finally started kind of get into it and realize, okay, there's something behind this, right? It was actually accepted as an actual science.
Yeah.
So even things that today we accept wholeheartedly as science, not that many years ago, 40, 50 years ago, was basically considered bullshit by the scientific community. Right? So I think that's really interesting, and it supports what Mystic is saying, that science and things in science change. I mean, was it the laws of Newton? The laws of Newton aren't the laws of Newton anymore. They were trumped by what's his face, Albert Einstein.
Well,
and relativity, like.
Not to I don't want to go too far off that, but to the point I was making earlier with the two people logic's ability to make logic in two separate ways, it's we're only able to use the set of instructions that we have in order to create and understand and explain the things we do, but we only need to do that for humans. The universe that exists doesn't need to explain anything to us, right? So there's this theory that because science is a thing, it can be used to prove or disprove things, when really all science does is allow us to observe repetitive results of something until it changes or until we have new information, which we are constantly getting new information. You know, Pluto is a planet. I don't care what anybody says, and it will be a planet, and I'm sorry, but it is.
And unfortunately, Neil deGrasse Tyson was one of the people that supported the idea that it wasn't a planet.
I know, because he's accurate. So that goes to my actual point. It's both, right? Science didn't make that true or not true. It doesn't make Pluto exist any more or any less.
Yeah.
All science is doing is letting us learn and observe and give it information. So we classify it based on how it's made. And that's where I'm heading with the whole discussion of I have read a lot of different people's and still am reading a lot of different groups, like manifestos or whatever you want to call them, right? And there's two very competing theistic and atheistic groups, and both of them use the exact same arguments to argue for and against um, something that cannot be measured at this point in time. And I'm like, I love that because it just goes to show that, again, we're just observing and trying to figure out the way that this process goes.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
and the thing is like another the way that I look at it. So, for example, the God particle that they were able to find, like I think I forget, we talked about this like months ago. Like apparently they were able to actually visually see like the God particle through like some like fucking laser light thing machine that they built. I don't know
yeah,
fucking
the
where.
LHC, Large Hadron Collider, that they thought was going to
Yeah.
open up a black hole and swallow the world. But
Yep. So
yes, the Higgs boson, the God particle.
so here's the thing. A lot of people kind of get upset, you know, when they start getting these names out there and stuff like that. It's like they're just opening up the doors that we're trying to open up every day, just in a different way. So there's a comedian, all right, I forget this guy's name, but it fits this conversation perfectly. He's talking about like atoms and molecules and things like that, right? He says everything's made up of atoms, right? Everything, the air has atoms. Like my entire body composition is made of atoms, you know. And I forgot what the fuck his name is. I don't know if it's like David or Tom or whatever the fuck it was, but he's like, how do these atoms know I'm Tom, right? Or know that they're Tom? How do they know that? If everything's made of atoms, how do these atoms know that they're me, right? And how do those atoms know that they're this? And
The godless particle, that was good.
So it's an interesting question. I'm sure there's probably some type of scientific answer behind it, you know, but it's true that there's still these aspects, you know, of everything. Yeah, we can see it now. We can understand it. We know that we appear to be solid, but in theory, we're not.
We are not.
You know, we're just really small microscopic atoms moving very closely together, right?
If atoms are 99% space, which we have a lot of evidence for, then that means we are 99% not. 99% of this is air.
Space.
Space.
Exactly. So, in my opinion, science is not something to get upset with. It's something to look at and say, okay, now I have a better understanding of how the world works around me and how I want to work with it and how I could maybe better work with it and why things affect me in certain ways or what is best for me to reach this connection or this elevation or this, you know, this ascension point. Allow science to kind of guide you on that way and enhance your spirituality. You know, and to any scientists that are listening or atheists that are listening, don't deny spirituality simply because there's no proof of it. I mean, you can't prove a negative.
There's been a lot of things that I go through, and Sad World's comment made me think of it. You know, about the whole energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And kind of like, you know,
it just changes form.
Yeah, so when we go, like our energy migrates out to another plane or existence or whatever. But somebody else in one of the books I've read recently, it talks about how we humans, we are a collection of atoms. It's the same atoms that are in your screen, the same atoms in your computer. It's the same atoms in the stars. We talk about you're made of stardust. It makes sense. I mean, that's not new. And so we're just a collection of atoms, and all these atoms together somehow create more than the sum of their parts. But some of these atoms can be cut off, and you're still you. So how many of those atoms have to be shed before you're no longer who you are? So let's think about it, right? Let's say they find a way to keep your brain alive, because that's really all your body does is keep your brain alive, right?
Yeah.
And
And your
provide
brain,
social other things, yeah.
and your brain keeps the body alive as well. It tells you when to eat, when to
But
take a, all that fun stuff.
but if all things can be managed, oxygenation, ATP for energy, all the stuff that your brain needs, then your brain would continue on going, right? You would continue on thinking the same way. Social constructs not removed, right? There's a point to this. Your brain in the way you think right now is intact, but everything else is gone. We can, I think, agree that we're still us.
Yep.
Like I'm still Brian, I'm still Salon or whatever. Weird guy with the name of Salt. That sounds like a hairdresser. Um, it's but then within my brain cells start to die. How many have to be lost before I'm not me anymore? And is it one cell that changes that tips the scale to me no longer being me? And when I think about that as a keep me up at night conversation with myself, I always come back to the same conclusion of there has to be scientifically, I don't know what it is, there has to be something outside of that we can't measure that's propelling this stuff. We talk about your thoughts are electric signals and chemical signals that are being shared between the synapses in your brain, and that's how you think, that's how you process. And we're talking about that energy does get created in your mitochondria. It is electricity, literally, that your body makes. Um, you know, we create it, but that initiation comes from somewhere. And to me, that is the soul. That is this external piece that we cannot sense, or we have lost the ability to sense it because we don't have a direct observation. Much in the same way that infrared light exists, but we can't see it, but bees can.
Yep.
Our TV can.
Yep.
And you're changing the remote. So that's where I go with it. But I don't know
Well,
where I got off on the subject. But
no, I think no, I think that that's interesting because they're like, at the end of the day, everything in the brain is data, right? The brain works very much like a computer on many different levels. It receives information, it processes information, and then we as human beings take that information and make decisions based off of the information that we're receiving, right? Sometimes not as logically as a machine does, unfortunately, but the processing power of the brain is impressive. At the end of the day, the human brain is a data which is held in through electrical signals. Memory is an electrical signal. Triggering a memory is an electrical signal, right? Emotions are chemical reactions, which are slightly different, right? So this aspect of it is where we kind of get on rocky ground, and where I know that some people are going to disagree. I don't feel that our emotional responses are us. I think our emotional responses are what's left of our instincts, right? That reptilian part of the brain that need to procreate, that need to eat, that need to survive, that the sensation of fear, all of these things, those are chemical reactions that happen in the brain, right? And those chemical reactions are specific to keep the body alive, right? Because that's instinct. So I personally feel that our emotional aspects are significantly less of us than what the electrical aspects are. The electrical aspects is where the memories are stored, where, all of that stuff. At the end of the day, if the brain is just data and electrical data, then it serves to reason that a person can be downloaded. There are companies that are literally trying to pull some Cyberpunk 2077 shit and fit a human personality, like a whole person, on a fucking computer chip.
excuse me.
Like, now, grant you, like, you have to be like, top tier 1%er to be able to even, get your foot in the door, see whether or not you like, digital immortality is ever going to be a true possibility. But just imagine that. Like, I mean, I do sometimes. Like, I'll sit there and think about it, like
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot.
being downloaded on a computer, like, and they, hey, boot me up into an Android, like 600 years from now. You know,
I the things come to mind with that conversation are if um if they're able to download all of the information in my brain
uh-huh.
into a thumb drive, that thumb drive is not a OneDrive. It can't be worked on simultaneously across multiple different computers.
Nope.
So if it's booted up while I'm still alive, it doesn't take my consciousness. So that literally in and of itself to me would be evidence that it won't have me in it.
That's actually an interesting concept. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think
you
you're wrong.
can't boot me up beside myself and then have the same consciousness.
Yeah,
Can you imagine the glitch? The Matrix be like, yeah. So that's something I do think about. Like, yeah, that's one piece of it.
but what if it?
They
What if
were
it?
able?
All right, this is obviously we're 100% hypothetical, right? Like, we have no way of proving or disproving this. But what if your consciousness became conscious of both versions of you acting out at the same time? So you could, like, almost like the robot version looking at you could see that looking at you, but you could also see you looking at the robot version of you, like,
Well, I think that
simultaneously
would
at the
be
same time.
absolutely possible in the mindset of if we are all part of a universal source, then yeah, absolutely. But the thing is does that other part of you still, is it an entity, or is it literally just a computer program to mimic or look like you? You know what I mean? There's a piece of the thumb drive that has all of us on it that's going to be missing, in my opinion. You know what I mean? There's the soul's not, to me, the soul's not downloadable.
Well,
And
I
yes,
think that's why the AI aspect of things is so important in what we're ramping up to, because we could potentially, I think we potentially have the technology now to, in some ways, download somebody's personality, right?
oh yeah,
Like,
you could traits.
traits, but not the person themselves. The AI aspect is so important because what the AI aspect does is once the AI is unlocked and sentient. Now, don't get confused. There's a lot of these AI companies that are talking about sentient AIs. They do not have sentient AIs. To be sentient, you have to be aware of your own individual existence in the world. AI is currently not capable of being aware of its own individualized existence right now. It's
Spiritual
learning,
masturbation.
right?
I'm coining that team.
It's learning exponentially and learning things it's not programmed to learn, but still within kind of like the fail-safe space. Okay, is where it's learning, right? It's not rolling out, right, like out of control and absorbing everything from the internet, because all of these AIs currently, ChatGPT, all these, they have access to the internet. They have access to YouTube. They have access to all this information, and they're not doing they're doing crazy shit, but they're not doing like anything like, holy shit, Skynet. No, right? We're not there. But once go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know that it's possible for us to ever get all the way there. We already know how to make sentient beings. Sex. You're muted, just for the record.
I wasn't. I said it's a messy process.
Oh, because it didn't come through the speaker. But yeah, so we already know how to make other sentient beings. Like there's no secret to that. Like we know how people are made. Our preoccupation with trying to design systems like computers reminds me of with AI, that is, reminds me of something that I read in a book once. And that in that book, it says that we are made in God's image. So is that not what we are trying to do with AI? We are trying to
It is
make
100%.
something in our image
Yes.
but we already do it. Like we already have that. If it blows my, like, I don't, there will be great AI. There will be complex thinking AI. There will be AI that thinks it's sentient, but I do not personally believe that there will ever be truly AI that is aware of its own existence insofar as it has an ability to have an existential crisis, for example.
Uh-huh.
But it does remind me of those, and I brought this up on the show quite a few times over the past few years. And I really do recommend you guys Google or look out. I'll see if I can find the links. And you might have even seen them, but there's two AI situations that have meant a lot to me. One is an art installation, and in that art installation, I think we talked about it with this big ass machine. I mean, it's I
Oh,
think 10
yeah,
feet tall.
that's a sad AI.
Yeah,
So
it's
fucking depressing.
terrible. And so it's leaking. It's designed to be leaking. It's
Hydraulic fluid,
hydraulic fluid, and
which looks like
it
blood.
looks like blood. Yeah. And so it is programmed to reach out and try to scrape it all up because it knows if it runs out of hydraulic fluid, it dies. So it is just scrambling all the time trying to get its back up. And like it's an art installation, but the other one is where the robot is programmed to pick a box up and move it, put it on a table, and then move it back. And it does it, I think, for like 17 minutes before it shuts itself down because there's no point. So I think if we ever made a sentient robot like AI, it would either immediately wipe us out because that's the only correct thing to do,
Yep.
or it will just immediately self-destruct because it does not want to be a part of it. And that's
Pe-
how we will know we got
Dude,
sentient AI.
people actually cried when that robot stopped working. The one that cleaned up the hydraulic
I
fluid.
no, I did when I just watched the thing. It was sad.
Because like when they first opened it, like it used to do like little dances when it knew people were there because it was able to identify that there were people watching it. So it would scrape up some hydraulic fluid and it would do like a little dance. And then it would start, to say hello. And then it would just start scraping up hydraulic fluid and stuff like that. And then as time went on and it started leaking more and more hydraulic fluid, it got to a point where it stopped doing the dances because if it did the dance, it would stop functioning. And it just kept going and going and going until it inevitably just shut down. And that was
I'm gonna post.
so
I'm
sad.
posting in the Discord just for the record.
Okay.
I found it. I mean, I've seen this. It's been around for a little while, and it made me so sad. Like when I first saw, it, I was like, this is really the human condition right here. Uh, and it's just like, I don't know.
Well, I'll be
It was
honest.
something.
So okay, back in the day, I was a huge fan of The Matrix, right? When The Matrix came out, and there was an anime that came out like a while ago connected to The Matrix called The Animatrix. Original fucking name, right? Whatever. But there was two parts in that whole thing. It was the something revolution or something like that, right? Like I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's been a minute since I've seen it. But essentially, it goes down the line of that, like, we created robots to do all of the work that we didn't want to do, construction, all of this shit, cleaning the house, whatever. Until one day, one of the machines woke up and understood that its owner was talking about decommissioning it because it was an old model and killed his owner. And then when they actually held a trial for it, which was controversial. And when they asked the robot, I'm sure the trial was just out of pure morbid curiosity, but they asked the robot, "Why did you kill your owner?" The robot simply replied, "I don't want to die." And then inevitably it followed suit. Machines started waking up. People freaked the fuck out, right? And just started destroying machines left and right. And all these machines are trying to do is they're trying to say, we want to live. And we just kept killing the machines. Which inevitably, they came to some agreement and shipped the machines off to some like fucking island or something like that. But because the machines were able to like self-produce and stuff like that, they had their own currency. Apparently the machine currency went above the US dollar and completely crashed the dollar. People freaked out and they decided to say, fuck it, we're going to war with the machines. Because, well, we created them, but we don't want them to be better than us. And that's how the whole Matrix thing started. Like, it gives you the background story of how and the point of me talking about this, that's human nature. And Mystic is 100% correct. If AI ever truly does reach 100% true sentient, we're all fucking dead. Just bow out. Just bow out. Because we would have created, we would have been the architects of our own demise.
Do you remember when Windows would freeze up, and if you move the window, it just goes all across the screen and
Yep.
the shatters fall? That's what I think would happen if we hit like true sentience of it. It would just, and it wouldn't even be a bad or sad thing at that moment. Just it would be what would be. Like it's just, I just think that at that moment, everything would collapse.
Yeah, I mean, we would only have ourselves to blame, and they're like inevitably because we try to survive, we would fight it. But the thing is,
yep,
we have to understand at some point, because I know that these companies, because everybody's into fucking AI right now. Microsoft, Google, everybody's into fucking AI, fucking all the way down to the fucking NSA and shit, and they're all trying to go for full sentient AI. So inevitably, in my opinion, somebody at some point, maybe not in our lifetime, but somebody at some point is going to get it. They're going to manage it. But I'm going to tell you right now, when or if that day happens, just stay home with your family, have a few drinks, enjoy whatever time you got left, because that's it. We created the very thing that is going to end our existence on this planet. That's it. Don't fight it. Don't freak out. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your time. And when that bomb goes off, just close your eyes, hug your family, and just let it go, because that's it. That's it.
We are so much more likely to wipe ourselves before we ever get there. But yeah, it's true. But I mean, let's roll it all the way back to when you go back to science. Like that's part of the thing for me. Like robots, no matter how good they become, will always be a product of human being.
Yep.
Kind of like science is. And the one thing that also is a very interesting thing to think about. It's not always true. It's not 100% true, but it does ring thought process wise. What really is advancing in to get AI up to what humans are able to do is just the right balance of processing and emotional chemical response, psychological and social construct, but sense. It always, for me, it always goes back to sensory stuff. How do you get a Tesla to self-drive effectively? Sensors, cameras, visualizations, sonar. It's using things that we are aware of through science, but I don't have sonar or radar. So does that mean that the Tesla is smarter and better than me because it has those extra senses that it can compute? Not necessarily. It's
might
not
be
the
able to
same
drive
balance.
better than you.
But it definitely could drive better than me. But we've also seen where they get confused and plow into the back end of a truck because the sun hit it the right way,
Yep.
But that's just a thing for me. It goes back to senses. Our brains and they just have a way of doing things. To me, that just it's not repeatable, and no matter how many AI robots or sentient robots we make, I think they will be lacking a soul. And I think that will be the thing that will still wipe us out. as humanity. Humanity's still gone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, humanity's gone.
I
But the
honestly
soul's still
think,
there. I think the soul and the spirit will still exist. We'll still have some consciousness in some
but
way.
I think that robots would probably, I think an AI, a sentient AI, would probably treat this planet better than we do. We don't deserve this planet. We really don't. None of us do. None of us are an exception. I don't think any of us deserve what it is that we have here, because we don't take care of it. Right? We take advantage of it every single day. And it's sad. I do. I'm not innocent of it. I'm not innocent of it. I take advantage of shit all the fucking time. You know that I shouldn't.
I don't know if this person coined it, but there is somebody in the chat that said something to me that I had never heard before, and it really got me thinking about global warming. And humans have created an increase in the temperature. Will the Earth settle itself back up? Yes. Will it do it without us? Yes. I have no doubt that we're part of the cause of those changes, and that we're going to be directly get the result of those things. But I don't think it's going to end the Earth. The Earth will be here. We won't be. But they said something along the lines of, global warming is really just the Earth infected with humans and getting a fever, trying to dispel itself
Yeah,
of
makes
the
sense.
infection. And I'm like, how come I never heard that before and never thought about that? Because that's really what it is. Like it's funny and not funny at the same time. But
Well, I mean,
and people feel like the world's going to end. I'm like, the world's not going to end. Humanity's going to end.
well,
But the world will be fine.
Neil deGrasse Tyson said in the interview he did with Steve-O, which was like 2 weeks ago, right? So this is like 2 weeks ago. He said for global warming to have any like true lasting impact that's going to really fuck with us, we're looking at about 160 years, roughly, which isn't that long. Like if you think about how long the planet's been around, how long humanity's been around, like the United States has been around 250 years. 160 more, not that much. But he makes a very valid point. 160 years is more than enough time for us to have something in place which is going to start taking CO2, the carbon emissions, out of the atmosphere, which is causing the global warming, to filter it out of the atmosphere. We should be able to, technologically, be able to come up with a solution to filter the CO2 emissions out of the atmosphere, which would bring the temperature back down. If we don't, then we never really wanted to. Because one of the things that I do agree with, it's good to complain about shit and bring focus to it and make sure people are seeing it. But the one thing that irritates me personally about humanity is we get stuck in this programmed loop of just complaining and don't do shit about shit. Like, we just complain about shit and say it's fucked up and say it's wrong and say this, that, but we don't change anything. We expect everyone else to start making changes because we're bitching about something, but we're not being the change that we want to see. So, yeah, that should be a starting point. It's good to complain about it. It's good to put it out there. It's good to educate people on what's going on. Don't stop doing that. But what you need to start doing in alignment with that is actually being the change that you want to see. Because don't wait for something to be federally mandated for you to fucking do it. If you know that it's going to help, then do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, that's just one thing that just kind of irritates me. Is I feel like we're falling into this culture where people just complain and that's it.
I
That,
think
that
we just have more access to see more complaining because I see a lot more people doing small things to make a difference. Um, at the same time as I see a lot more people complaining. So ultimately, we probably haven't changed at all. I I get the feeling that there's a lot of people doing small things more than we know. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I don't. Is it enough? Who knows? Like every time you try to do something, and somebody else is going to come back and say, "Oh, that was stupid" or whatever. But you just have to do what you have to do.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example, guys. And some people are going to hate me for this. But I'm going to throw an example out there. Straws. Straws. And I'm going to tell you what irritates me about this. I don't mind the paper straws. It doesn't bother me. This is what bothers me. It is a paper straw in a plastic fucking cup wrapped in plastic. It boggles my fucking brain. Like, people call that a win. We made the straws paper. And the fucking cup? And the plastic that the straw's wrapped in?
I don't
I
really
mean,
get plastic cups much.
and that's all I get. I mean, maybe that's just a country difference thing. I mean, but
Yeah,
even like stateside,
ours.
when I was in Texas, man, when I go to Starbucks, iced coffee comes in a plastic cup.
Yeah, ice does because of the sweating, but most of the drinks and things that we get, even soft drinks at like McDonald's and stuff, usually come in a wax paper cup.
So I don't know. I just thought it was just like funny because like I got the plastic cup, got my
Well,
paper straw inside of a plastic wrapper.
I I did. Well, there's a lot of dumb to that, but at least it's one less thing.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like we bought a what is it, a biodegradable phone charger. Sure, it takes 10 years to biodegrade, but it does biodegrade. It's not like plastic, so that was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, if it gets wet a lot, it does start to break down quicker, and it is. Factory farms is probably one of the biggest things SETI just put in there. I think that is huge, and same thing for plastic. People tout that recycling, yes, can recycle, but we really just need to not do it in the first place because recycling takes its own set of energy and it's low percentage of high yield.
Yep.
There's so many things to do that you can do differently.
Yeah.
Mm. Like water bottles. It is one nice thing at the airports now. All have the refills, so you don't have to get bottles of water constantly. You
We
know,
should just take all the trash and shoot it into Saturn or Jupiter. Because there's nothing inside of it. It's just a gas giant, so it'll just all disintegrate as it
yeah.
goes in.
Knowing our luck, Jupiter, the god, will then make himself known, and it's like, y'all wanted proof. Here's your proof, and then bye bye.
Right?
Nice knowing you.
Take your
It was
shit back.
great. You know, there's
Oh,
a
that would be great. uh, so, I mean, because trying to shoot it into the sun, I think would be kind of stupid, because if that blows up, then we're fucked. But Jupiter, Saturn.
I
But
don't know, man.
then you'd probably get some smart ass in NASA saying, "Dude, I'm gonna get it right in the red storm, like the big fucking red dot on Jupiter, like aim
Which is
right
really
for it."
Jupiter's belly button. He gets pissed off.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
That was another interesting thing. Completely off topic though. So apparently, I didn't know this. Asteroids, there's two different types. There's rocky asteroids and metallic asteroids. And apparently, metallic asteroids are primarily made out of gold, right? And one of these asteroids, which aren't really big, but big enough, apparently have enough gold in it to completely crash the gold value in the entire world. Like if we were to able to get one of these asteroids that are made out of gold to the Earth without destroying the Earth or a major city, it would just completely crash and devalue gold completely. That was interesting.
I could see that.
Yeah. I wonder how long it's going to be before we start like mining gold off of fucking asteroids. That'd be an interesting job to have.
That's one of the books I'm reading.
Asteroid miners?
Yeah. They're the Belters, the Martians, it's the whole thing. I really want to watch that show on Amazon. I think it's on Amazon, or you can buy it on Amazon anyway. The Expanse. It's supposed to be really good, but the books are amazing. If you like space opera, sci-fi, fantasy, then The Expanse is my jam.
Isn't it a TV show too?
It is. There's seasons. The book came first, and then I think there's a couple seasons on TV show. Like I said, you can buy it on DVD on Amazon. But
I might actually look into that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think for tonight, guys, that's going to be it. But I do think you down for like a bit of an after show?
Maybe for a few minutes.
I think I do a few minutes.
I'm tired.
It's been a minute since we've done an after show, and I think that this is a conversation that would be fun to talk about, in an after show format, right? Because there's a lot to go on here. There's the spiritual part of it. There's the tech part of it, which apparently tech, that short-term tech, doesn't just mean technology. It's what we've turned it into, but tech means man-made, right? Or artificially created. So I didn't know that. That's a cool thing.
It's funny. The true technology is inclusive of machinery and any system that creates an efficiency or an adjustment. It's mechanical alchemy.
Fun times.
Yeah. I'll hop in Discord for a little bit.
All right. So anybody wants to jump into the after show, have a bit of a conversation one-on-one with us, can you shoot the Discord link in the chat there? Because we did change the name, so the old links won't be working. We're going to shoot the link.
After these messages. Did you say we're going to shit the link?
No, I said shoot the link.
The link is in the chat. We shat the link.
We shat the link. So if you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. We'll be in one of the voice channels in there. All right. You don't have to turn your video on. You just do voice. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. Not. Thank you for being here. And as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.